everybody, and today we are going to be learning about equivalent fractions using one of my favourite things, Lego. So first of all, let's remind ourselves what a fraction is. A fraction is a part of something, and we use fractions when we split something into equal parts. So let's have a look. Here I have my whole piece of Lego, and I'm going to split it up. I can split it up like this, and I can split it up like this. What do you notice? Are they both split into fractions? Well, the answer is no, because they've not been split into equal parts. This one has been split into two equal parts, so we could refer to those as a fraction of the whole thing. This one, these parts aren't equal, so we can't refer to it as a fraction. However, I could change it like this. Now, it is a fraction. It's been split up into equal parts. When we write our fraction, we have our two numbers. At the top, we have our numerator, and at the bottom, we have our denominator. Our numerator tells me how many parts we have, and the denominator tells me how many parts there are altogether. So if I wanted to look at this first one and think about how many parts are purple, I can see that one of the parts are purple, so we have one purple part, our numerator, but altogether there are two parts, so 2 goes in our denominator. So we can see from looking at it, that half of that top one is purple. Let's have a look at the next one. I can see that 2 of the parts are purple, so 2 is our numerator at the top, and altogether there are 4 parts in total. So 2 out of 4 are purple, or 2/4 are purple. This brings us nicely onto our equivalent fractions. Equivalent fractions are fractions that are the same but are written in different ways. So we can see here from looking at it that the same amount is purple, but we wrote it in 2 different ways. We wrote it as a half for this one, 1 out of the 2, and for this one we wrote it as 2/4, 2 out of the 4. Here we have another example. How many parts do we have purple this time, and how many do we have altogether? This time we have 4 parts that are purple, and we have 8 parts altogether. What do we notice about these numbers? Let's write them at the bottom here and we can have a closer look at them. How do I get from 1 to 2, 2 to 4? I multiply both by 2, so 1 times 2 is 2, 2 times 2 is 4. I can multiply them again. 2 times 2 is 4, 4 times 2 is 8. Let's have a look at some other examples and see if the same thing happens. This time my whole is going to look a bit different. It's going to look like this, my whole shape. And I'm going to split it up into some equal parts so that we can write them in fractions. Okay, so I have my whole at the top. I've split it into 2 equal parts into halves. I've split it into 3 equal parts into thirds. I've split it into 6 equal parts into sixths. So let's see if there's ones that we can compare. I can see here we have a red one here that is the same size. So we can compare these two. This one is smaller, so we can't compare it. They're not equivalent because they are not the same. These two, the red amount is the same. So at the top we can see 1 out of the 2 pieces, or half, is red. In this bottom one we can see 3 out of the 6 pieces is red. What's happened to the numbers again? We've multiplied them by 3. 1 times 3 is 3, 2 times 3 is 6. Let's have a look at the purple this time in these two. I can see that 1 out of the 3, 1/3 is purple in this one. And I can see that 2 out of the 6, 2/6, is purple in this bottom one. I've multiplied them by 2 this time. 1 times 2 is 2, and 3 times 2 is 6. So when we want to find an equivalent fraction, we can multiply the numerator and the denominator by the same number. And then we get an equivalent fraction. I wonder if it works the same when we try to divide. Let's have a look at another example. This time my whole is even bigger. So I have my whole, and I've got lots of different examples which we are going to look at here. So I've split this whole up in different ways. I've got the whole at the top. It's in thirds, 3 equal parts. We've got it in sixths and 6 equal parts. We've got 12ths, 12 equal parts, more sixths, and then we've got a half here at the bottom in 2 equal parts into halves. So we are going to have a look at the top 3. We are going to have a look at the purple area. So how much is purple? And I'm going to start with this one this time. So I can see that out of my 12 equal sections, 8 of them are purple. So I've got 8 12ths are purple. Let's have a look at this one. In this one, in our sixths, I have 4 sixths. And then in this one here, I have 2/3 are purple. 2 out of 3 are purple. So we've been looking at multiplying to make equivalent fractions. Let's see if we can do it by dividing this time. So if I want to get from 8 to 4 and 12 to 6, I can divide by 2. 8 divided by 2 is 4, and 12 divided by 2 is 6. Then I can do the same thing again. I can divide by 2, I can half my numbers. So 4 divided by 2 is 2, and 6 divided by 2 is 3. Let's have a look at the pink area at the bottom here in the last 2 examples. So I can see that 3 of the sixths in this one are pink. Here I can see that 1 half is pink, 1 out of the 2. From looking at them we can see the same area, but we've written it in 2 different ways showing our equivalent fractions. So let's see what we're going to do this time. I'm going to divide by 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1, and 6 divided by 3 is 2. So just like when we multiplied, if we multiply the numerator and the denominator by the same number, we can also divide the numerator and the denominator by the same number to get an equivalent fraction. So I'm going to think of one example, and we're not going to use the LEGO this time, we're just going to use those facts that we've learned, that we can multiply and divide the numerator and the denominator to get an equivalent fraction. So I'm going to have a look at 3 12ths. So first of all, I think I'm going to multiply, and I'm going to multiply these by 2. So I'm going to multiply both numbers by 2, the numerator and the denominator, to get an equivalent fraction. So 3 times 2 is 6, and 12 times 2 is 24. So 3 12ths is the same as 6 24ths. I'm going to divide them this time. I can see that both of these are in the 3 times table, so I'm going to divide by 3 this time. So 3 divided by 3 is 1, and 12 divided by 3 is 4. So 3/12, 6/24 are all the same as 1/4. So these are equivalent fractions. So to find the equivalent fraction, we multiply or divide the numerator and the denominator by the same number. Thank you ever so much for joining me for some learning today. I hope you have had fun and learned something new or revised your knowledge. If you have any queries or comments, please just leave me a note in the section below. Thank you. Bye-bye.